Welcome back to my channel one more time. So Israel is panicking as Iran officially joins Syrian groups. They call them groups. They don't designate them to be a terrorist organization anymore. I'm talking about HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Before we talk more about this, I want to actually share with you this particular map that will tell you exactly how Israel is now targeting Syria and which area they are targeting. But before I do that, just to remind you guys, most of my viewers are not subscribed. If you happen to be one of them, consider subscribing. Take a look at this location. So this is where it is happening at the moment. You can see this is where Israel is, the ITF base and the fighter jets coming all the way going up to Syria, and they're targeting military installations and infrastructures there in Syria. So for example, what they are targeting, so they are targeting the military airfields. Let's bring the map here. Then they're targeting the military vehicles here. They're targeting the anti-aircraft system in Syria, and they're also targeting other weapon depot in Syria. And this video is from AI Tele, and wait for the most important part of it. So if you go a little bit further with this video, you can clearly see where Turkey is with the border of Syria, and this is why Turkey is so keen on maintaining some kind of control over this region, because it will directly affect Turkey's security. So they're not going anywhere. Rather, Turkey is taking all of the precautions it can in order to avoid any kind of attack from Israeli forces or capturing any land in Syria. Now, if you go further with this video, you can see that the Israeli forces, they're targeting not only these military installations in this particular area, but also in Taurus. You can see on the map, also in Homs and also in Damascus, as we have seen reports coming on the internet about these particular locations that they are being targeted. Now, not only this, but they are also targeting these boats in Latakia. As we know, Latakia is a port city, and it has the Soviet era military boats, if you want to call them, and these boats are very, very effective in terms of carrying out the attacks on the Israeli forces. Why? Because of the simple reason that these boats they are close to the Israeli coastal line. I will actually show you the coastal line in a second. So if you go further, so you can see these Soviet era missile boats, and these boats, they have the potential, if they are being mobilized properly, they have the potential to strike directly into Israel, or they could in fact carry weapon supply to Gaza itself. Why? Because again of their location. They are very close to the coastline of Israel. And if you think about this, coming from this coastline right here all the way to Israel, even going to Gaza will not be much of a problem, again given that we have proper management, and it is being operated by professionals, not by the rebels obviously. But again, the point here is that Israel right now they are facing this humongous challenge coming from Syria, and so what they do, they preempt and they try to destroy all of these military facilities, the geographic locations of Syria where the strategic places are, in order to make plan and carry out attacks against Israel. So they're panicking, they're freaking out, and they're attacking left and right in Syria. Obviously, we have seen how the international community, they are now condemning this, and they're telling Israel to back off, but of course they're not gonna listen to anybody at all. Now, I want to actually share with you some other news, but just before I move on, to remind you guys, most of my viewers again not subscribed, consider subscribing. Let's take a look at this particular news, because this is something very, very significant. Now, we have seen how all of these groups or I should say the resistance forces, they were fighting in Gaza. Now you have the Abu Ali Mustafa martyr brigades. They are going bonkers against the Zionist forces. They were formed in the year 2000. They did not carry out much of an attack in the recent time, but in just one day, actually it was today, they have carried out quote-unquote several operations against the Israeli occupation forces in Gaza today. And I will also, after I share this development from Gaza, I will share with you how Iran is joining the rebel groups in Syria. I'll explain more in a second. The brigades announced that its rocket unit targeted, okay, if you can read from here, I'm just going to be bringing it here, east of the central governorate with a 107 caliber rocket barrage. It also targeted the new Israeli military sites in the Philadelphia axis in the southern Gaza Strip with a rocket barrage. Additionally, the group targeted the Israeli Army Command and Control Headquarters in the Netzarim axis with another 107 caliber rocket barrage. If you have not noticed, these days these resistance forces, they are mostly targeting not north of Israel, but also south of Israel, especially along that Rafah crossing and also the Netzarim axis. Now we also have an attack in the area where we see that the Abu Ali Mustafa brigade that are conducting attacks on Philadelphia axis. So all of this Philadelphia axis, Netzarim axis, and also the other command post, all of these attacks are happening in northern Israel, in southern Israel and also in northern Israel. Who are these groups? Martyr brigades. It is the military wing of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Again, as I said, they were formed in the year 2000, and they changed their name in 2001 to Abu Ali Mustafa Martyr Brigade. Before this, they were named as Popular Resistance Forces, and then the reason for their formation was because of the Israeli assassination of the leader of PELP in his office in Al-Bira in the West Bank. So it actually emerged after their leader was assassinated. The ideology of the group is Marxist. Yes, and it operates mostly in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. So they are now becoming absolutely active in south of Gaza, trying to attack Israeli forces as often as they can, because we have not seen these kind of activities from Abu Ali Mustafa Martyr Brigade in the past, but now they're ramping up their attacks on them. I also wanted to make a point, guys, since this Syrian thing is unfolding, and I have also predicted that the attack by individuals inside of Israel will increase, like the one we have seen from Jordanian citizen, from Egyptian citizen, people like individuals who do not belong to any group taking up arms against the Israeli forces because of the Gaza genocide. One incident happened. One of them happened at a bus stop of Jerusalem in Israel. A gunman opened fire on an Israeli bus in the Al Khader junction area south of Jerusalem. A number of civilians were wounded in the attack. And I personally believe that these attacks will increase. Now, Abu Ali Mustafa brigades, they have also bombed the Netzarim axis. Abu Ali Mustafa brigades, our fighters targeted the command and control headquarters of the Israeli occupation forces in the Netzarim axis, north of the central governorate in the Gaza Strip, with a barrage of rockets. Again, more and more attacks coming both from these groups and also from individuals. Now there is this major incident. Whenever something goes horribly wrong with the ITF, Israeli Terrorist Forces, they call it major incident or major security incident. So one such thing happened in Gaza when Israeli media reported a serious security incident in the Gaza Strip, adding that censorship is imposing a ban. And this is something very common. Every time they come under attack and lose their military personnel, they put a gag order on those media so that news will not be leaked. It also reported to the military helicopter carrying wounded soldiers landed at Belinson Hospital in Tel Aviv. And we talk about Greater Israel, right? They cannot even win against a little group like Khamas. And take a look at this picture here. You can see that this helicopter is landing somewhere on a hospital, a helipad on a hospital, carrying those wounded soldiers. Why they are taking so many hits? Well, it is because they are incapable of fighting on a ground, on a one-on-one basis on the ground. All they do is carry out air strikes, and this is what happens. Air strikes targets Al Janaina, Al Mayadin. So this is a Lebanese newspaper. They have reported an Israeli airstrike targeted a building in the Al Janaina neighborhood east of Rafah city in the southern Gaza Strip. Again, when they cannot fight these militaries, these resistance forces, what they do? You guessed it right. They go bonkers and they try to use fighter jets and drop bombs on civilians, killing as many as possible. So Israeli forces, they have also burned dozens of houses in Jabalia refugee camp in the northern Gaza Strip. If you do not know, they are still continuing with the genocide. They're massacring people there, and we see more and more casualties every single day. We also have Al-Qassam brigades. They have destroyed troop carrier in Jabalia. So this is the same place where they have just dropped bombs. Israeli fighter jets, they go crazy when they come under attack. They call their aerial or air power to help them, because again, they cannot win against these fighters on the ground. So basically, Al-Qassam brigades, they said, our fighters destroyed an Israeli troop carrier with a Shawiz bomb in the Al-Khulafa area of Jabalia camp, killing and wounding its crew yesterday. And these attacks are continuing on. A lot of people, they have speculated that after the ceasefire with Hezbollah, Israel will not have any more resistance the way they faced in the past 1 year. But that is not the case. In fact, the resistance forces, they're actually ramping up their attacks and increasing those attacks on Israeli forces every single day. And Israeli forces, they're also blowing up buildings in Rafah, in Jabalia camp. They're just setting everything on fire because, again, they do not know how to fight with real men. Of course, then, this is all coming from Gaza ministry, and they have the number now of the casualty, the health ministry, that because of the genocide, the number of people who are getting killed in Gaza, it is increasing. Now let's take a look at this particular report here from the other sources that I just want to share with you. So Israel, because they are always afraid, now they are trying to get inside Syria as much as they can, because they don't know what to expect from these rebels. I will show you the video of Netanyahu, who has just mentioned few things about the rebels, and he warned them. But let's see here. So this is Syria. As you can see, this is the Golan Heights, and on the map, Masjid al-Sham, this is where the forces, Zionist forces, they are heavily stationed, and they're conducting attacks in and around the Golan Heights area. There is another report that said that Russian forces are going to be protecting Golan Heights, just like they were when Assad was in power, but we cannot confirm that news at the moment. And then you can see that this is the line that was drawn for Israel, but there is really no line for Israel whatsoever. They break every line, and they violate all laws. Now I want you to take a look at this particular report. So as I said, that Iran has officially joined the groups, again, quote unquote, groups in Syria. But what I really mean by officially join is that this is coming from the top echelon of Iranian government. So Khamenei, he actually announced this, or he made a comment about these groups, that showed that he has changed his position on these rebel groups. If you take a listen at this, what this report is saying: Iran's leader blames US-Israel for Assad's fall, shifts tone toward Syrian groups. The first thing I want to mention is this one. Iran never blamed Turkey for all of this at all, because they know Turkey is not responsible. I know a lot of you hate Erdogan, but I am going to be brutally honest with you guys. The reason Iran and Russia is not blaming Erdogan is because it is the fault of Bashar al-Assad, who did not want to talk to Erdogan at all. And they know it. And they told, I'm sure, Assad, Iran, Russia, they told Assad many times, I'm sure, go to Erdogan, go to Turkey, talk to him. But Bashar al-Assad, he showed the middle finger to Erdogan. Now we see what happened to him. So let's read a little bit here. The Islamic Republic is shifting its language after fighting groups in Syria. What kind of language he's using at the moment? In his first reaction after rebels toppled Syria's government, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei said in a speech Wednesday that the US and Israel were behind fall of former President Bashar al-Assad. Now, he downplayed the effects of losing a long-term ally, means Assad. He said that the resistance front, a term for groups in Syria as well as Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq, mostly funded by Iran to fight against Israel, will still encompass the whole region despite Assad's fall. In other words, he is wishing success to the Syrian rebels, that they are going to be part of the resistance force and they will encompass, quote unquote, the whole region, and they will kick out Israel. Okay, so he's including Syrian rebels or the Syrian government or Syrian authority, whichever you want to call them, in this axis of resistance, and he's saying, I wish and I hope that they will be successful and they will get rid of the Zionists from there. Now, he said, while sustaining his usual firm stance against US and glorifying the axis of resistance, Khamenei maintained an ambiguous tone while he addressed the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham HTS, which ousted Assad and other fighting groups in Syria. He called them Hayat Tahrir al-Sham as the group, not the terrorist group. He did not. He used to, or Iran used to designate them as terrorist organization, but now he's saying no, they are not terrorists. They are actually group fighting force, and they are part of the axis of resistance. Each of these fighters has a purpose. So listen to this. Their goals are different, he said, and not clarifying Iran's stance toward them. However, he added, the jealous Syrian youth will liberate Syria if any group seeks to seize Syria's territory. Who he's referring to? Obviously not Assad, no, obviously not the Alawite, obviously not anybody else, but the Zionist. He's saying that if Zionists ever try to seize any territory, and they did already in the Golan Heights, the buffer zone, the safe zone is under Zionist control, and Netanyahu, he already made it public that we're seizing the buffer zone. So Khamenei, he's saying anybody who will do that, they will liberate and they will attack and they will get rid of them through the Syrian youth. Iranian officials and state media commentators have been subtly shifting the language regarding HTS since they ousted Assad over the weekend. Officials often would refer to the opposition of Syria's former president as terrorists or rebels. So again, they used to be called terrorists or rebels, but now, before his fall, before Assad's fall, now use terms like armed groups. So no longer HTS, no longer terrorist or rebel group, they're armed groups or simply groups to talk about HTS and attempt to downplay the group's former ties with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So basically, again, they are now changing their tone, now taking a new position in this matter, and his Iranian Al-Khamenei making it absolutely clear that we are all united against this guy, Netanyahu, who just announced something. I want to actually play the video from Middle East Eye. Let's see here.
להתערב בענייני הפנימיים של סוריה. אבל בפירוש יש לנו כוונה לעשות מה שצריך לדאוג לביטחוננו. במסגרת הזאת, אני אפשרתי לחיל האוויר להפציץ.
Okay, so he's saying that I am extending my hand to the Syrian rebels. We want to live in peace. Basically, that's the message. And then he said, but if you ally with Iran, I will use force against you, the one you have never seen before. So again, rhetoric, very, very harsh rhetoric from Netanyahu while trying to strike a balance in his tone against the Syrian rebels, because he knows that the success of the Zionist state and its survival hugely now depends on what is happening in Syria, because if Syrian rebels, they try to infiltrate Israel or try to attack them or try to harm them in any way, shape or form, that will be just the beginning of it. And that's not what the Zionist forces they want. DJW, thank you so much for your super thanks.